The project Countering Transnational Illicit Arms Trafficking through the implementation of the UN Convention Against Transnational Organized Crime and its Firearms Protocol has been at the core of the work of the UNODC Firearms Trafficking Section and its Global Firearms Program during the past 5 years. Countries in Africa and Latin America have benefited from the work carried out to prevent and counter illicit firearms trafficking and their links to organized crime and terrorism by promoting full and effective implementation of the Firearms Protocol. The project targeted countries in Africa and Latin America using a flexible assistance model, maintaining regional perspectives and initiatives in consideration, and being able to zero in on specific countries based on evolving needs and emerging threats through tailored assistance. The project was conceived based on the 5 pillars of the Global Firearms Program, and key areas of work were identified taking into account the specifics of the targeted countries and their needs. These areas of work were focused on increasing awareness of the firearms issue and establishing adequate policy and legislative framework, increasing capacities of countries to implement effective firearms control regime to prevent, investigate, and prosecute firearms trafficking, supporting effective cooperation among communities of firearms and organized crime practitioners, and improving capacity to monitor firearms trafficking and links with other forms of transnational organized crime. As a result of the project, major achievements were made. In Africa, Burkina Faso, the Central African Republic, and Mali adopted new firearms legislation. In Latin America, Bolivia exceeded the Firearms Protocol. A total of 8 countries received tailored legislative advice and legal drafting support, and comprehensive legislative assessments were conducted in 15 countries. The project supported the development of the guidelines on investigation and prosecution of firearms trafficking cases, a comprehensive tool for practitioners emphasizing the importance of addressing the criminal justice dimension of illicit firearms, and step-by-step guide in supporting investigations and prosecution.
I think that having a common methodology and checkpoints is very, very useful, and after we can adapt them from our national legislation. We are, I would say, we are nearly speaking after the same language. We have the same duties. Common knowledge is really important, so we can share experience, we can share case law, we can also show a case law from a foreign country and what happened to them. So it's really interesting. We need to have and to learn from each other. It's really important. So I hope that the guidelines will help us for that.
In order to increase the capacity of countries to improve record keeping and prevent the diversion and trafficking of firearms, the project developed an integrated firearms registry named Go-IFAR, a customizable database for licit and illicit firearms. The software consists of a set of interrelated registration systems for the recording and registration of firearms sequences, and it allows to efficiently control trafficking of firearms by preventing diversion to the illegal market. The software is being pilot tested in one African and Latin American country, and several member states have expressed interest on its use. The project supported international cooperation through formal and informal means and helped countries engaging in direct cooperation through the establishment of the Firearms Community of Practitioners, a platform to foster dialogue and international cooperation. Its members share success stories and exchange information. The initiative was launched in October 2020, and the first regional meeting of the Community of Practitioners was organized in Panama City in December 2021, followed several subsequent meetings. The work of the Community of Practitioners is further supported by a dedicated website aimed at fostering exchanges. International cooperation remains the cornerstone of the fight against illicit firearms trafficking.
It's really important to establish mechanisms. As we all know, firearms travel, they move from country to country, across continents. So it's really important that we set up those interconnected focal points so that we can communicate between one country and another, so that inquiries can be made, so we can do our utmost to stop those firearms from moving.
Properly understanding firearms trafficking in a specific context is a basis for proposing evidence-based policymaking that actually targets priorities. The project collected more than 200 cases of firearms trafficking and more than 300 pieces of firearms-related legislation to UNODC's knowledge management platform Sherlock. Sherlock is a tool that gives access to good practices in dealing with organized crime offenses and how they were treated in the criminal justice system. The project also conducted research on the relationship between firearms trafficking and other serious crimes, including on the links with drug trafficking, trafficking in persons and smuggling of migrants, the diversion of firearms, and the links with conflict. This included joint research with the United Nations Institute for Disarmament Research. Capacity building was another key component of the project, with 31 practical training courses, 6 regional meetings, and participation in Trigger and CAFO firearm-specific operations. The project reached close to 4,000 officials in law enforcement and the judiciary. The project also supported practical disarmament measures, including capacity building in the marking and registration of firearms in Africa and in Latin America. In Africa, more than 7,000 firearms were marked in the Central African Republic and Niger. Following sensitization campaign in these two countries, more than 500 were also collected.
La phase opérationnelle elle-même qui concrètement va se passer sur le terrain, notamment en procédant au contrôle avec les résultats qu'on a. Et évidemment, on a eu de très bons résultats, notamment des saisies d'armes, mais aussi des saisies d'autres produits prohibés, des marchandises de contrebande, etc. Et aussi, il y a eu des procédures judiciaires qui ont été initiées dans l'exploitation de ces résultats de l'opération CAFO. Donc fondamentalement, pour me résumer, les 3 éditions que nous avons connues de CAFO ont été un grand succès et j'espère que pour les perspectives, les éditions à venir, que ça connaîtra le même succès, bien sûr, en s'enrichissant des expériences, en capitalisant pour mieux avancer.
To maximize impact, apart from its regional initiatives, the project was focused on various priority countries in Africa and Latin America. Countries such as Argentina and Niger, among others, beneficiated from this national approach.
En el caso de la República Argentina, el programa de armas lo que permitió fue una capacitación muy intensa en mi persona, en la persona que trabajan conmigo, para procurar la modificación de la ley argentina y que se adecúe a la Convención de Palermo y al Protocolo sobre Armas. Y además, esto también permite conocer otros sistemas de investigación, otros sistemas de búsqueda de pruebas y también hacer nuestro aporte desde el punto de vista de Sudamérica o de la región latinoamericana.
Dans le domaine de sensibilisation, l'ONDC nous a appuyés à mener des campagnes de sensibilisation dans des régions les plus touchées par le phénomène de prolifération des armes. Donc ce sont des régions d'insécurité au Niger, en l'occurrence la région de Maradi qui fait frontière avec le Nigeria et la région de Difa qui fait frontière avec le Tchad et le Nigeria. Donc nous avons mené des campagnes de sensibilisation. Cette campagne nous a permis de sensibiliser, puisqu'on a expliqué aux populations et c'est de leur bien le fait de ramener les armes. On les a sensibilisés, donc ils nous ont rendu beaucoup des armes. Donc on a stocké qui sont en attente de la destruction conformément aux instruments qu'on a ratifiés. Quand je prends le domaine des marquages, l'ONDC nous a aidé à commencer les marquages au Niger. Nous avons commencé, comme j'ai allé souligner, par le marquage des armes saisies pour avoir la main. Et après, à partir de 2019, l'ONDC nous a appuyés pour lancer la campagne de marquage des armes des stocks étatiques. En commençant d'abord par les forces armées nigériennes, toujours à partir de 2019. Aujourd'hui, les forces armées, presque une grande partie, la majorité de ce qu'ils ont comme arsenal, presque tout est marqué.
The Countering Firearms Trafficking project was an opportunity to provide much needed support in combating illicit firearms trafficking in Africa and Latin America. Many challenges remain, and UNODC recognizes the need to adapt to a fast-changing world with interconnected threats to security and peace. As part of these efforts, UNODC has developed a new strategy aimed at making member states more resilient against new emerging threats. National ownership is key in ensuring that such strategies, along with international commitments on arms control, gain traction and are effectively implemented. UNODC remains committed and engaged with member states in these efforts, focus on continuing to address the transnational dynamic of illicit arms flows and the connection with other related crimes and sources of instability as armed conflict, perversive violence, organized crime, or terrorism.